Hello and welcome to Ashford.com. You are watching an interesting video on workplace stress management, why it is important to deal with workplace stress efficiently. Stress in general is difficult if not impossible to define, with other great stress theorists suggesting that it is no longer worth defining. However, field-specific definitions have been offered. For example, workplace stress has been defined as the individual's perceived ability to deal with work demands. While the definition remains elusive, there is a general agreement by theorists on its antecedents, such as working with a difficult boss, excessive work pressure, and so forth. It leads to companies losing billions of dollars due to employee absence and low performance due to its negative effects on employee well-being. Organizations lose a lot of money in trying to relieve employee stress at both individual and organizational level. Although the former is more popular than the latter because of its cost-effectiveness, its efficacy is yet to be demonstrated. Of course, two individuals in the same job report different stress levels depending on their perceptions and evaluation of the work environment, which are often biased. Undoubtedly, other individual differences in personality, upbringing, genetics, to mention a few, account for some of the reported differences in how employees handle stress. The same individuals also report the same event as stressful at one point and as their best memorable event at another stage. Let me give an example to clarify the assertion above. A traffic controller reported that it was very stressful when he learned that two planes were traveling towards each other at the same trajectory. Asked later, he reported that his timely interventions, which lead to the avoidance of a near collision, made the event the best moment of the day. This implies that workplace stress may depend on task outcomes, which further complicate attempts to define the construct. What is certain is workplace stress depends on individuals' perception and evaluation of circumstances. Allied to this suggestion, it is not a disease, any deviation from normal physiological function of the body, which can be treated with a prescribed medical remedy. Yes, it has no negative outcomes on individual well-being, but that does not make stress a disease. Maybe it is just a negative emotion, who knows? On the contrary, stress may influence outcomes positively, for example when it causes a rise in endorphins in athletes before the race begins. Endorphins have been shown to be a natural performance enhancer. These positive effects differentiate it from a disease whose outcomes are always negative. If workplace stress can be positive, how can it be promoted to enhance performance while negative stress is minimized? Effective workplace stress management intervention levels range from primary, elimination of the stressor at organizational level, secondary, training individuals to cope or manage stress, and tertiary, rehabilitation of individuals already affected by stress. Theorists, authors, and researchers have concentrated on ways to reduce stress at secondary and tertiary level interventions while paying a blind eye to organizational interventions. These individual interventions include counseling, relaxation techniques, and behavioral modification. The reason for the hype in individual-based interventions is mainly because they are often more cost-effective, at least in the short term. Studies have, however, demonstrated that individual interventions cannot singly eliminate effects of workplace stress without secondary interventions. This has been shown by reported number of cases of individuals relapsing into stress when exposed to the same workplace stress. It is common knowledge that if organizations initiate interventions at secondary level, it is perceived as an admission that they are the cause of stress. Organizations are not willing to take this responsibility, which can be costly to the organization through employee litigation. Elimination of stressors by the organization is more plausible in order to reduce relapse rates. However, secondary interventions, as said before, are cost-intensive at the initial stages, although their outcomes are often long-lasting. If the stressor, for example excessive noise, is totally eliminated, there is little change for relapse. In the long run, employees who cannot cope with chronic stressors may leave the organization. Costs of replacing experienced employees are often very high. The elimination of stressors remain the best option. It is generally agreeable that there is no longer any need to waste resources on trying to define stress but on ways to mitigate its effects. How researchers can deal with a construct without an agreed definition remains a challenge because the diverse research results are difficult to compare. Workplace stress costs economies billions each year due to employees' poor performance or total absence from work. Individual interventions remain popular as they are cost-effective and produce quick results. However, there is need to complement them with the costly, secondary interventions to avoid relapse. There is a suggestion that it must be compulsory for organizations to implement secondary interventions. No consensus has been reached on how to assess the prevalence of stress in organizations for it to warrant the cost-intensive secondary intervention. Thank you for watching this interesting video, hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned, and subscribe this channel today.